Skiles. Let's bring in Scott Skiles. We'll start there. First of all, congrats on the job. Where would you weigh in on this in their prime, LeBron or Kobe?
I don't know. I don't know about going against Shaq. Whatever Shaq says, he knows more than me. He's played with Kobe. So I will say one thing though, Dan. Why did it have to be gritty, gutty? Why couldn't it have been pretty, gutty?
When you had hair in high school, when you were at Plymouth High School, Scott, you were pretty gutty. Now you started to lose your hair, you became grittier.
Well, okay. That's always stuck to me. So people still today come up and say that to me. So.
Okay, you conveniently avoided the question here. If you're coaching against LeBron and Kobe, how much different is it to coach against those two?
Well, LeBron's just so powerful. I mean, he's just the thickness of his body and and just tremendous court vision. And Kobe's a little more slippery. He's got LeBron's never scored 80 points in a game, for instance, but I mean, all the stuff he does, being able to get double-digit rebounds, get 15 boards, and kind of does whatever it takes. So, I mean, look, they're both obvious, in the top 5 players of all time. So, I've never had an opportunity to coach a player that great, but I'd take either one of them.
But if it's an open draft, they're both 22 years of age. I give you Mike, Mike, Kobe, or LeBron, open draft.
Boy, oh boy. I'd like to have that draft. I'll tell you that. I mean, you're not
Scott, you got the number 1 pick. You're on the clock right now. You're starting your franchise, an expansion team, and you take with the Orlando Magic. Select.
Well, I don't want to be. Look, I just got a new job. I don't want to be out there publicly saying I'd take one guy over the other. 2 of the guys I still have to play against. The other guys retired, so maybe I'll just take Michael, keep it safe.
How was it playing against Mike?
Well, it was very difficult. I mean, one game comes to mind, actually. We had a game in Chicago Stadium where I believe Michael had 63 when I played for Orlando. And I think we won. We won in overtime, luckily. But, I mean, we did everything you can humanly do against a guy. I mean, put big guys on him. We ran and doubled him. We doubled him the top of the floor, on the side of the floor. And he would just look at the double and just fade away from it and knock it in. So, I mean, he's a great competitor. I mean, that's the thing about all 3 of those guys. They're immensely talented, but they're great competitors. And there's a lot of guys with those physical attributes. Maybe not LeBron with his power, but with the other 2. But they just don't have that competitive nature that sort of wills the team to win.
Michael Jordan called you, in a word, tough. Do you coach? Can you coach tough?
You mean can the team get tougher if the coach does something about it? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Can you teach them your style?
No, but I mean, I did. I had to be tough. I mean, I'm small and not particularly athletic. So, what you have to do is you've got to get sort of your defensive schemes to a point where the guys know them inside and out, and they're in the right spots. It's hard to take a charge, for instance, if you're in the wrong spot. You got to get there early, and there's more guys than you think that are willing to give their bodies up. They just don't have they haven't been drilled enough into where to be and how to get there and things like that. So it might, on the outside, someone might say, oh, boy, they're really playing a lot tougher now because he's there. When in point of fact, there's some toughness out there anyway. They just got to, kind of properly know what to do.
He's Gritty Gutty Scotty Skiles, Orlando's head coach, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. What have you been doing the last couple of years?
Oh, I've just been spending time with my family. I've got some hobbies and stuff, but not a whole lot. When I'm employed in the NBA, I'm all the way in all the time, and when I'm not employed with the NBA, I'm all the way out all the time. I think it's important when you have opportunities to get away from it that you disengage. And it doesn't mean I'm not watching games in the evening, during the season, things like that. But I'm pretty much totally out of it. And I don't mean to be rude to people, but I turn down a lot of opportunities when I'm out to, do camps and things like that. And it's only for that, or TV work or whatever. And it's only for that reason that I just feel like the job is so demanding, and I like to think I put everything into it, and then when I'm out, I stay away from it.
Who makes your draft pick? You got 5th overall. Who will make the call?
Well, they've done a nice job with the draft. Rob and his guys have done a nice job with the draft. They do an unbelievable amount of research and have all the analytics and watching these guys. And so, I watch college games. I know, I'm getting up to speed on it. But it'd be foolish for me to walk into that room when they've done a nice job drafting and start, arguing with guys. I mean, so I know where we're at right now with regard to the small group of guys that we like at the 5th pick, and I'm on board with that. So, they're big on collaboration here. I want to hear everybody's opinion, and I think that's important. I've really never been in a franchise where anybody's picked anybody against my will or anything like that. Most of the people are collaborative like that, but ultimately, if there was any sort of, this guy or that guy, you got to go with the guys that have done all the homework.
What do you think of the lottery system?
I don't care for it. However, it's like asking, a political question, and you don't care for one party's politics. Well, what's the answer to it? What is the answer? And I've looked at the thing over and over again. I don't know what the answer is. I know there's a lot of ideas, but how do you have a system where you reward teams that fail? It seemed like for a while it made sense, but then everybody's taking it to the extreme to try to get those top picks when. In point of fact, I mean, if you get the top pick, or let's say top 3, if you get the top pick and it's LeBron, that's great. But if you get the top pick in a year when there isn't a clear cut, like Shaq, we got top pick, boom, Shaq was obvious. There was no need to do any homework. But it's still a crapshoot. It's still a bit of a guessing game even up there. And I just think if you're sort of sending the signal that we're gonna lose to try to get better, I just don't know how that's healthy.
Okay, but what about this? This is my solution. That once you're eliminated from playoff consideration, the number of wins you have after elimination will give you the more ping pong balls you'll get. The number of wins, just to say we're going to continue to try.
Yeah.
What about that? I'll reward you for playing hard in the last month of the season. That you'll get more ping pong balls the more victories you have.
My only, I think it's good. That's a good thought. The only thing I would just say right off the top of my head, without giving it a ton of thought, is that in the Eastern Conference, for instance, you're not eliminated until it's so late in the season because, you have a losing record, you can make the playoffs. I wonder if there's some sort of what you're talking about and some hybrid where maybe you don't have to be totally eliminated, but if you're so far under 500 at a certain point or something like that, I don't know.
I'm open to it.
That's a good idea though. Then at least down the stretch. I mean, say that happens with 14 games to go. Now you got to race and try to win games. So that's an interesting idea.
Do your players know that you?
I don't know why you asked me, Dan, when you had the solution.
Well, I think I asked just so I could tell you the solution. I think it was really about me, Scott. Do your players know that you had 30 assists in a game?
I don't know. Nowadays you don't even. It's been a long time. I don't know if they know I even played. So, people will come up to me, with somebody a little bit younger, maybe a father with a 12-year-old, and say, this is the coach of blank, and he used to play. They don't know that I played. So, and rightfully so. So I don't know. I'm sure they do here. I mean, they can't help it here. I think they have somebody told me they have a picture of me up out in the concourse, sort of commemorating it. So they probably do here.
Yeah, you had 30 assists. I mean, that's a lot, Scott.
Yeah, well, if you remember, Dan, it was in large part. Well, obviously, guys are making shots. I mean, you can make all the great passes you want. If your teammates aren't knocking them down, they end up being nothing. But
you had a good team.
It was largely because of the style that Denver was playing at the time with Paul Westhead. They were literally just inbounding the ball, taking it up, and Michael Adams was, firing up threes and other guys. And I mean, it wasn't 7 seconds or less; it was 4 seconds or less. And we had 155 points that night. So it was just one of those things. Perfect storm. Fell into it. I'd had, I think, over 20 assists, maybe a couple times. But if you're going to do something like that, it needs to be like a perfect storm.
Okay, but what's more impressive, 30 assists in a game, or the fact that your high school won the state championship and you didn't have anybody over 6'2"?
In a state with no class basketball, everybody went to the same tournament, and we were the second smallest school to win it since 1954. So I take a lot of pride in that. That is more special to me because the assist thing is even though the teammates have a lot to do with it, it sticks to me. It's an individual accomplishment. And
well, you didn't pass back then in high school.
Yes, I did.
No, you
yes,
were a
I
gunner.
Did.
You had 39 in that game.
Yeah, I did, but I was never a gunner. I took what the defense gave me. So I only had 14 points going into the fourth quarter. So,
Okay, so Alford was a gunner?
Yeah, my friend Steve. Yeah, he was a huge gunner, that guy. Yeah.
Didn't he average
He
averaged like 40 a game, didn't he, in high school in Indiana?
he was a year behind me. He may have his senior year, and I was already in college and was a little oblivious to it. But Steve from his freshman year, he was scoring out there. So, he's obviously a great player. But
they didn't make a movie off your high school. Why? I mean, that's Hoosiers. Hoosiers too.
Yeah, they had Milan. They had the movie, the team that the movie's based on, and that was 1954. Not like in the movie it says 51, but it's loosely based. But anyway, that was even more impressive. They were really, really tiny. So that was very impressive.
Well, good luck. You got some young talent there, and good luck in the draft. Always good to catch up with you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate having me on.
All right, and that's Gritty Gunny, Scotty Skiles. And when he had hair, he was pretty gutty, Scotty Skiles.